change your mind's reaction. It's doing nothing for you. Here's the law of love and attraction. I'll show you what I can do.
Hi guys, it's May, and this time at the cottage we need to start clearing out some of our sweet potato. This sweet potato has been covering this area over the summer when it is really hot, and it keeps the ground moist and cool when we have the really hot sun. So it's time to dig, and here we go. Now, there's a couple of different varieties in here. You'll see from the difference in the leaves. There's this variety, which is a red sweet potato with a white in it. And then this variety with the other leaf is a white sweet potato on the outside, and inside it's a purple and white. So we don't know what we've got. It's a bit of a raffle. Let's get into it. So what you can do is just push the sweet potato vine back, and you'll see that the where the roots are, that's usually where you'll find sweet potatoes. Here's one just popped out, and that's on the red vine. So they're fairly close to the surface, most of them, but sometimes you've really got to dig. And what you will notice when we dig in here is how well this sweet potato keeps the soil. As you'll see, there's usually quite a lot of worms. Once we've dug through here, we'll then bury some of our kitchen scraps, which will be great worm food. And we'll also, I think we've got something in this section. We'll have a look. Yeah, there's a little one. They're a bit small. We'll also, then after burying the kitchen scraps, we've got bare dirt, as you can see. Ah, look at that. He hit it straight with the pitchfork. But that's more the size we're getting. So there's a nice white one. Over on this section over here, if you have a look, we've already cleared this section. We hadn't got round to mulching because last couple of days we've had 180 millimetres of rain. So it's been pretty hard to get back into the garden. But this one's all been dug, ready for mulch. There's a bit of mulch on the corner. And then we'll start to replant. So we'll replant with our winter crops, which will be like the brassicas and some capsicums, whatever you want to put in. There's another one, just a little one again. They're beautiful sweet potatoes when they're fresh straight out of the ground. And the soil is amazing. So by having this ground cover, it's keeping that soil vibrant, ready for our new crops. Okay, sometimes you need to actually trim it off so you can take a bit off. It's just getting too heavy. And this will all dry out here for a couple of days. And then I'll just run the lawnmower over it and use it as mulch around our trees. So nothing is wasted. This green is absolutely amazing as a mulch. Well, I think I've come across the biggest sweet potato, but let's see when we dig it up how big it is. Here we go. Look at that. That is what you call a sweet potato. Oh my goodness. Certainly going to make a couple of dinners. I'm going to stop actually digging at the moment. We've just found a little frog, so I'll leave a bit of habitat for him and we'll probably come back to this again tomorrow. But we have got most of our sweet potatoes up, and then we'll have to cut some slips from the green parts of the sweet potato and replant ready for next year. Okay, these are what we've got so far. So besides the huge one, there's a few other smaller whites and also some reds. Well worth putting this in when you can't grow anything else, because during summer these beds are too hot to grow in. Okay, now what we do after we've dug out all our sweet potatoes is we usually bury some kitchen scraps, which will give the worms back something to eat. So you can see there's tree roots in here as well from the pawpaw or papaya trees. So, and we've got to be careful of our little worms. We hope we don't injure too many whilst we're digging. The scraps bucket got filled up last night with some water. So that was just rain. So we'll put our little scraps in there. We can actually might put that root back down in the ground. We'll pop some cardboard over the top. So usually like wet cardboard, but this is a little bit dry. And then cover it over. Smooth it out, and that can rest now for a couple of weeks at least, and then we'll start putting some new plantings in. We'll also put straw mulch over the top of that. So it's getting a bit late this afternoon. We might get the straw mulch tomorrow. Okay, so we're back out into the garden. The rain stopped. It's a beautiful day. And what I'm doing now, we've just finished off digging up all the rest of the sweet potatoes. So we've got some area to plant our winter vegetables. Otherwise, we just won't have any room to put anything in. The worms are still abound in here. We'll just rake it out a little bit flatter. And then I'll be burying some more kitchen scraps underneath and a bit more cardboard, and that will just give the worms something to chew on for a while, because it's no good leaving the earth without anything once they've had all that beautiful sweet potato and that coverage of roots to be around, and then all of a sudden you force them into a whole unnatural environment. Now we decided to bury our kitchen scraps into the vegetable gardens direct. The reason being, we went through 3 years of drought. Our compost beds were not breaking down. There wasn't enough water. We had waterers going all the time in the garden. So our idea was, why not use any ground that is left over or vacant to directly put our kitchen scraps in. And it has worked really well. So we're continuing to do that, even though we now have a lot more rain, but we're still going to be putting our kitchen scraps into any bare areas in the garden. It's increased the worms and helped to actually increase growth of plants, because there's a lot of seed in those scraps, and we often get random tomatoes. Even these papaya, they actually came out of our kitchen scraps. And so we've left them in the garden and they've been producing amazingly. When you think that they came out of kitchen scrap seeds, didn't need to plant, that's what we like about permaculture. So in goes another lot of scraps. I tell you what, our kitchen's been very busy lately, lots of cooking. A lot of people do worry about popping citrus into their scraps. We don't worry about it, and we have never had an issue. It breaks down quite easily. I suppose we keep the soil fairly moist, And you can see this time I've put the nice wet cardboard on. It'll break down a lot quicker. So we just cover that with the soil and figure that the worms will do their stuff in there. The next part is that we'll now put some straw mulch over the top. So that can be for later. I've got some hay here. We just pop that over the soil and give it a nice covering. And you can see already here we have pumpkins coming up. We have lots of tomato and some other little seedlings all popping up just in a couple of days. So this garden is just full of little seeds. So the mulch will just keep the growth down, cover the soil, keep it nice and cool and moist for our worm activities. Sometimes we will use bark chip for like pathways. As you can see over here, we have a bark chip path throughout the garden. And I'll just keep topping that up and it mulches down as well. So that adds a bit of vitality to the soil as well. Don't put any of the plastic in the garden if you can help it. Rip that off your cardboard boxes before you put them in. When we put our seeds in, what we do, we just pull away a little bit of mulch and pop our seedlings in. So we keep all that mulch around the seedlings. So what we do, when we've finished clearing out the bed, we need to save some of the sweet potato for next year. And we're going to make some slips out of that sweet potato. So we've got the two different varieties. We cut them about 15 centimetres long, and then we'll cut the leaves off from the sides. So you just basically need a couple of leaves at the top and a piece to pop back in. This will actually grow. From the nodules, you'll find that they'll take root, and that's where your sweet potatoes will come from. Okay, now we've got a few slips. We are going to plant them. This is all mustard green that just comes up every year, self-seeds. So we're going to put a few in with these. It won't really matter if we dig a few in. So just make a little bit of a hole in your ground, pop them in and just bury them. And you'll see here, these are the ones that I've done a few weeks ago. So all of these were planted a couple of weeks ago and they're up and running straight away. This will cover this whole area in sweet potato, and we'll have a lovely vibrant garden over here ready to plant again. And you can see from our kitchen scraps that pumpkins just come out and run away over up to the trees, everywhere. So they've all come from kitchen scraps being buried in our gardens.